everyone, and welcome to the American Scouser podcast. Monday night, back in action. No galley tonight, but Paul and I am the host as always over here at Timucin in Chicago. Beautiful weather. We started walking again, trying to get rid of this guts over here. Did like 4 miles or something like that today. I think slightly increasing the dosage over here. I think it's like 60 degrees or something crazy for middle of February. So it feels like September out there. Can't complain at all, knowing it's freaking mid-February. I'm sure we'll get slapped one more time as a reminder that it's still winter, but gotta take it while you can. And Bickler is joining us from an undisclosed location in Tennessee.
Yep, I'm in Eastern Tennessee. Like all great things, I scooted out of the rain this morning and got here, and it's actually warm. I think it's like colder here than it is where you are. It's in the 50s or so, but yeah,
Yeah,
it was nice to go.
it's shocking, dude. I mean, we were like, hey, we went over. I mean, obviously, when you're in Chicago, you're kind of like a bit more used to it. We were like, I mean, it's 40s. It's not bad at all. So we're like, let's start this walking thing. But I mean, these last couple of days, it's been like 50s and 60s. Next weekend looks like back to the good old fashioned high 20s and stuff. But yeah, like I say, can't complain. It's middle of February over here. BJ in the chats, Alan. Good evening, gentlemen. As you are hopping on the live show, hit that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And then if you know somebody who hasn't, go slap them around too and bring them over here to subscribe as well. BJ's in now. Speaking of BJ, he did send this. It is a trivia, but I think you're going to get this, actually. I have faith in you. I have faith in you, Bickler. It's because I think if you really put your mind,
you know, the only thing that I hate more than trivia is expectations, but let's go for it.
No. You got this. So the Saturday match between Liverpool and Brighton, both clubs had a dude on the field with the most club appearances against the other club in all competitions combined. So they had played against the other team the most. Name both the Liverpool player and the Brighton player. You got this. I know you got this.
Were they starters or were they subbed in?
Yeah, I knew there were going to be some silly, I don't know, appearances. So I guess that would not matter. That's the way I would read that.
Okay. I mean, it's got to be one of the OGs on this team. So I'm going to go. Is it going to be something stupid like Allison, though? I'm going to go Mo Salah for Liverpool and who would it be on? Dunk for Brighton.
See, I knew it, Bickler. You had it in you. You just had to bring it out. Yes. Mo, 20 appearances against Brighton. And I guess also leads in goals against Brighton too with 11. And Lewis Dunk had 17th appearances against Liverpool. Second on the list. This is the part that shocked me. Who do you think is second? I know I'm pushing the limits over here. Got the right answer. But who do you think the second is? I think I already gave you a tip that it's not who at least I expected.
Yeah, for Liverpool. I mean, I would have thought it would have been Van Dijk, but I can't go there because you just said it'd be surprising. I'll go Curtis Jones.
It's Andy Robertson. I would have said Ali or Van Dijk probably in that equation sense. Because, like you said, you would go back to the OGs, and I would have thought it was one of those guys. I mean, I guess Roberts is an OG too, but I would have thought, it would be the other guy starting. Yeah, Andy's second, and Pascal Gross is second for them, by the way. So since we were on, well, I guess I wasn't on last week. You guys had Kazi joining, get some nice, good old-fashioned slot out negativity in the Monday night podcast over there. But since then, we've had 2 games, 2 clean sheets, 2 wins. Does it say anything to you? Does it mean anything to you? Or you're still like, ups and downs?
I mean, I still think this is just make or break time. I think the stretch, when I looked at it, like, what was it, like a month ago, I wanted to say, like, when we rounded the corner and we were looking at the fact that, like, we were going to have City, and we have a run of basically Sunderland, Brighton, Forest, West Ham, Wolves, right? Wolves twice. Yep. And then you get a Tottenham team who's really down, and then Brighton again. I looked at that run of like 6 to 8 matches and like this is the one where we got to get like 90% of these points. Like
Okay.
we need to think that we're headed in the right direction. I know historically Brighton's been kind of a big win, but I think like Brighton, you're catching a Brighton team that's winless in 5. Their other twos they've skated by and had a couple of results before that, but I think this is a Brighton team that's kind of far from their best. But I'm not going to take anything away from this side right now because we needed that win. We needed those people and sort of the way we scored goals, I thought was important too. Like the people involved, I thought were people that like
Yeah.
I mean, like let's face it, this team needs to get confidence wherever it can. So whoever put them in was probably going to be big. I just thought that the players that were involved were especially key players that needed to start getting some like fire under their feet and get rolling.
Yeah, that's true. I can't think of it, to be honest. Yeah, you're right. I can't think of a lot of guys that would be like, "Oh, he doesn't need the confidence right
Right,
now," kind of
right,
a thing,
yeah,
because it's like pretty
yeah.
much across the board. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I think how the goals came about. I don't know. Like when I looked at that stretch that you're talking about, though, I started my "we got to start winning after this" after the Sunderland game, just
Okay,
because it was a tough away game. So I thought that was more than this weekend. I think this weekend, how comfortable it was nice to see. And the control was
yeah.
nice to see. But in terms of like, I mean, obviously this is the FA Cup, so it's important to advance and stuff. But I thought the Sunderland win was a lot more valuable and on paper was more of like a wow, that's a big one compared to this one.
Yeah, and I think like so I think the thing that's big on these games is that like not only had we been previously scoring goals, I know Sunderland was one, but like to me, like I felt like we were creating chances and looking like a dangerous side, but also when producing clean sheets, which I think has been that delicate balance. Like when like we lock it down and seem to play defensive and we're look like we're gearing towards clean sheets, I think we struggle like with the creativity piece up front. Like it seems to me like we're starting to put those two together. I think the competition certainly helps that, but like the fact that I thought Brighton had moments, but I thought we did really good job of collectively defending in those moments and looking like we had some sort of composure and not like we were just scattered and just like reactive. So I think that was like good to see from them. I also thought that there seemed to be like a renewed sense of urgency when we lost possession to win it back within the first like 10 to 15 seconds instead of just letting them have like just basically sinking back and letting them and ceding possession.
Because even after they put, like Minta and stuff in, I thought, yeah, we still were able to control the game and was really never, aside from like the built-in paranoia and mainly the recent, results of even giving up 2-goal lead paranoia. But when you're watching the game, that didn't even creep in. It felt like because we had it mostly under control, kept possession and stuff. Real quick, let me ask you that though about the FA Cup. Did you Were you on board with the fact that it was the strongest lineup possible for the most part? Because when we were talking, I know like on Friday with Kazi on the morning show, I know he was more like trying to sprinkling some rotation, whereas I felt like this is one of the few trophies you can win for one. So you want to make sure you advance. And two, if this team needs anything right now, it needs more cohesion, playing together and kind of like forming, like figuring things out together as opposed to using a new piece that you might not see again for like another 4 weeks.
Yeah, I think by default you sort of got the rotation because, like, you went in and didn't have Sobo slide due to suspension, right, for Sunderland.
Yeah.
So you had to sort of go out of pocket and play places like put Endo into a lineup and do some things that were a little bit outside of the ordinary. So I know it's not a ton of rotation between Endo and essentially Robertson, but like I you got to rest Ekatike in this moment, which was big. I think like I think you did get some rotational pieces in there. And I think honestly, this is a side that probably needs like the core of its unit to be playing as much as it can right
Yeah.
now. Right. Because I think there's still like a lot of chemistry that needs to happen and be sorted. So that made sense to me. I think the happiest thing about the entire lineup for me was that you weren't sort of pocketing Soboslai into the right position, right back position by default. Like we've seen Curtis Jones do that. And so like I was excited to see that because that's what I wanted out of Gomez. Gomez is always a 50-50, especially when he's not 100% fit, which is never. So like I was happy that Jones was playing, but like I was more so just happy that we had Soboslai, who I think, you talk about a side that's getting built around Florian Wirtz, but like the most critical piece to Florian Wirtz working in the system is having Soboslai doing the running that knits that back line and the front line together right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. And I think I almost like, I don't know, like this morning, I think when we were talking in the morning show, somebody in the chat mentioned like Wirtz was, or maybe it was another chat I saw, like somebody mentioned that Wirtz was not his like normal, like when you looked at the performances this weekend, who didn't play up to par is probably Wirtz, considering his recent form. But is that partially because now that people see his quality and what he can do, there is so much more efforts to prevent him from getting the ball or finding spaces that it almost creates spaces for others?
I think it's part of it. I think they had a real problem with the fact that Chiesa was taking up spaces that Florian Wirtz likes to take up too. And that essentially was crowding flow out of the play. And essentially that's why I think you saw a lot of Gakpo Mo involvement instead. You saw those build
Yeah.
up plays going wide because I think you had like Chiesa doesn't he shouldn't be playing up top. Like I don't like, that was the one thing that I was just like, okay, I guess we're just gonna roll with this, right? And part of me is okay with that because you need to get him some minutes and you need to get Ekatike off the pitch at some point.
Yeah.
So like if you're gonna take this time to do that, that's fine. I still like Chiesa out on one of the wings, but like or because you're not going to play him where Flo's playing, right? So like if you're not going to play him in that sort of free roll 10, like he needs to be sort of outside. In my opinion, I don't think he plays great up top because I think when he wants the ball, he drops as deep as he needs to get the ball, which is exactly what Flo's been doing too. So I just think you had too many places on that pitch where both of those players were kind of taking up the slack.
Yeah, that's a good point because he does not really play like an outright striker. He looked confused and lost, and at times, I've been one of those guys that like for everybody constantly saying like we want Chiesa. I really don't see as much as people do, and I think people look at what happens after the 85th minute and take it as it will happen in the 10th minute, and that's not how things go. I just feel like some of his over trying is probably not the right way to say it, but he does have some Nunez tendencies where he goes extra hard, which puts him sometimes out of position or causes him to commit some really needless fouls. When we have them pressured and we're bogging them down, it's almost like relieves them off of the pressure by giving them a stupid foul and a set piece so Brighton can breathe. Is that just a guy trying to make it and earn some minutes, like over trying, or is that just his
Yeah.
style?
I think it's a guy who's tried too hard with limited minutes to make the most of them, in my opinion. But I think the real problem with Chiesa is that we're finally seeing why he didn't play more. And I think at the end of the day, like as much as I love Chiesa and I do love him, like I think he's a phenomenal footballer, and I think he probably needed and deserved more than he got towards the beginning of this season. But as the season has gone on, he's looked slower and slower every time out there. Like his top end pace looks like it's going. Like and it's looked like it's going week to week, which is kind of wild. And so like I think like physically you're just seeing a player that's kind of past his best. And I think in the Prem, if you're playing a top three position, like you have to have so much pace and power unless you're playing some sort of build up style that doesn't require it, which obviously we're not. And I just think that like between sort of the erratic decision making, sort of the over effort that results in silly fouls, I think he struggled with like staying on side and when he's central, like versus out wide. I think between those three things, you put an aging player in a position that he's not super comfortable with in a side that he gets limited minutes, and you're probably going to get an output like that. And I think thankfully you just had a side who was powerhousing the midfield predominantly through Dominic Soboslai, and you had Curtis Jones having a phenomenal half at right back. And I thought the right side of the attack was actually just really good in
Yeah.
general. And then you had Kirkes, who I thought individually was one of the best players on the pitch for large swaths of that match.
That's one thing, like going back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of using the strong lineup, and Shelton was saying too, like we needed the strong lineup. I just want to see these you're not going to get the familiarity if you're constantly rotating and putting in pieces just because people want to see this guy too, kind of a thing, because that's not really as important right now, especially for a team that's struggling, trying to find its way. And I do think we're getting more and more on both sides. Like, we're able to set up those triangles on both sides of the wings, on the right hand side and on the left hand side. I think Jones actually was better with Mo, but let's cover this with Mo. I was talking about this morning, and I actually mentioned it on Discord too during the match. Has Mo gotten faster, or Ferdi got really slow? Because Ferdi is like, one of his strengths. Was Ferdi Kadolu's strength was his speed, because he's a winger normally, like a wing back that's playing like a left back and stuff. His original position when he came first from Netherlands to Turkey was a winger. He was converted into a back and all that kind of stuff. Mo looked like he was just like walking past him. Like, it looked like he made Mo 5-6 years younger, or is Mo finding his? It was just like by kind of a mojo. It looked like the old Mo. It was weird because it looked like the old Mo.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I mean, I knew this was going to come when I was watching second half, and he blew by him on a 1v1, and I was like, oh man, he just beat somebody 1v1 in the second half of a match. We're going to talk about this. So I knew with a Turk being involved, that was going to end up being something too. I'm not 100% sure, because it's like, when you look at it, he just played 93 days ago before this match, right? So it's not like he's coming on more rest or anything. So I do think Mo Salah is a rhythm player. I do think that he has to play all the time, a lot. We always joke about how he needs to get rested, and how he would just straight look like he was refusing to come off at times under Jurgen Klopp. And you're, how do you pull a player clearly is going to be very, very upset about losing any kind of minutes. And I think he does need this. I don't think he's getting any faster, which begs the question, what's going on there in Brighton on that back line? Because there were moments where he did look like prime Mo. But I will say this, as much as Mo looked like prime Mo in terms of his pace and his power kind of returning, we're still not seeing that sort of first touch from him we used to see. And I think that's kind of I think the quality of the first touch and the top end pace are still not what we typically are used to seeing from him. So I think he's still sort of.
Is that because the bar is ridiculous though? Because when you talk about first touch, for example, I mean, that assist he had, but I know what you're saying, for example. I mean, because I know if this gets clipped, people are going to be like, first touch, have you not seen the goal? Stick to baseball is what you're going to get. So he still has that, but I know what you're saying. Some of the long balls that comes from Van Dijk and stuff, he used to be able to bring. Is that because he's set the bar so high? Because it's not so poor where it just bounces off of him. Sometimes it would with Sadio, for example.
I still think his legs are gone. I mean, I still think his legs are gone. What I think that Mo is doing well now, and this comes back to that one touch that we're talking about, that great first touch for the goal. I think what Mo is doing well now is realizing that his probability of beating somebody over the top 1v1 isn't what it used to be. But he's real good at taking that on, pulling up, and then hitting the trailing run now. He's now looking for, whereas before, it's he was just going to take that all the way and either try to power a shot home and take the kick or try to get fouled, take the corner. But I think now he's actually looking to use that pace to set up the trailing run and somebody behind him, or a hold up play and wait for help. And so I think he's learning. He seems to be adapting his game a little bit. And if he can continue to adapt his game and realize that this play runs through Florian Wirtz and Dominic Sotoslide powering it behind him, I think that's where this can get really special for him, because I think he still can be a huge part of this thing. He may not be a lethal goal scorer, but he's going to be a premium chance producer for this side if he can do that.
And I think it kind of helps him in the sense that I think Matush was mentioning it this morning, that, he's not the focal point. He's not the focal point, I guess, is the biggest thing when we're building play, and everything has to go through him. And I guess, it's almost like in basketball when somebody a heat check, if the guy is on a roll, you just keep giving him the ball kind of a deal. And I think last season, that's what Mo was. Everything he touched turned into gold. So why would you go through somewhere else? And I think that was part of our struggles may be that we made that the default setting and we kind of kept going to Mo even when he was off of it because this is what we do. I think the presence of Wirtz, despite what the haters say, improvements in Gakpo's play kind of like helps. Like you're saying, like Soboslai, I felt like, midfield. I know McAllister gets a lot of crap, but his distribution and getting the ball to places a lot faster and using Kirkes out wide and stuff can, instead of making him the main focus, using every tool you have makes it easier for Mo when he does get the opportunity because now the defenses can't just be like, okay, they're going to give it to Mo. We just got to defend this.
And I think, we talk about it being the default setting from last year. I think this goes back several years. I think this side has played like this for going on 5 or 6 years where everything went through Mo, right?
Yeah.
And I think like by default, if he can learn to be a facilitator and a chance creator in this side, and like I think they can be really special because this side has about 5 or 6 ways it can beat you now instead of just one, right?
Yeah.
Like, and when we were looking at prime Liverpool, when we had the awesome like orange kits and the purple kits, and we were running through Champions League that season, like that was the season where you could get beat by a Roberto Firmino dropping into midfield. You could get beat out left on sheer pace by Mane. You could get beat out by a younger Mo on the right side, and you had some people that could go ahead and hit rockets from midfield too. So like that's where we kind of need to get back to. I think this obviously, I think that we've sort of exceeded like realistic expectations by just letting Mo carry this burden. He's been that good that he's been able almost to carry an entire side for a number of years. We're like, now it feels like this is getting back to becoming a little bit more balanced and sustainable.
Yeah, and I think it helps the team as a whole. It helps the rest of the team, and I do think it helps him that everything does not have to. It's almost like I say, I keep going back to basketball, but like have another guy who can carry the ball, like a ball handler kind of a deal. So everything does not have to go through you, and you don't feel that pressure. Brian Sheldon says, I think his role has changed. You don't see him having the. I actually think he is doing a lot more defensively than he ever has done, and I think that helps the team. I mean, I know what you're thinking in terms of having a leader like that who normally doesn't defend. We very clearly publicly announced that last year he was told, that's fine, just go get goals and stuff. But I think it's a good message to send to the rest of the team that, hey, you know what? To play, you got to take care of whatever your responsibilities and whatever you're assigned to. Is that a big win for Slot? I know nobody wants to give Slot any wins, but that whole drama because of how Mo handled it and how it got resolved in terms of now Mo says, you know what, you're right. I should be a leader and defend more and serve my role and do what I got to do. Is that kind of like a win for Slot behind the scenes?
I mean, anytime you can get a prolific goal scorer to defend, yeah, that's a win. I think given the public row and stuff, for sure. But yeah, he's definitely. I feel like I've seen him, especially sort of on these like sustained attacks. Like I've seen him sort of at the edge of our own box, which you never in a million years saw before. And maybe some of that is like training ground stuff. Where like, hey Mo, we don't have a right back at all anymore. None. And there's no Jordan Henderson. So like, we need you to soak back and not only be an outlet, but we need you to come in and be an extra body in the box too at times. So like it's definitely a win. I think it's got to be part of the way that he reframes and sort of revitalizes the way that he plays and adapts. Much in the way that we've talked about an aging back line with Van Dijk needing to learn how to adapt and not just rely on sheer pace. I think both players are sort of having to do the same thing, maybe in different junctures, but like, yeah, I think, and what that to me is a sign of a really mature footballer when I see something like that, because like you have to have some sort of awareness. And I think it's even harder for like prolific stars of the sport, I think, to understand that because you're battling your own ego too. And your own ego says you're still the best player in the world.
I think so. I mean, it's a huge respect thing that I would have for Mo as well, to kind of like acknowledge it and say, yes, I had to. So you're right, because that's hard, especially at that age, it's even harder. I mean, South Asian Scouser said, I do not fully agree to this, that the defensive thing with Mo is more talked about now because of how porous our midfield and right back position is. Mo's doing the same tracking back he's always done, nothing more, nothing less. I think it's a lot more. And not only that, look, when you watch Mo, we've all had these freaking. I mean, Bickler was probably one of these strikers. I don't know. Bickler looks like a pesky one that would press. But we've all had these strikers that like he's running there, but is he really running there? Like he, like when the ball is being swished around in the back, just watch this and compare it to the beginning of the season to see what Mo is doing differently. When the ball gets swung around by the other team and suddenly they go to Mo's side, if Mo is too much in the middle, now he's sprinting towards that left back and closing it down.
Yeah.
In the past, he was kind of like, and like I say, before that guy, he was kind of like jogging. If he just got chewed out, like midway, you can even see it with Mo sometimes, where he has the old habit of jogging. He's like, "Oh shit, that's right," and then he just like and like gets over there.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the biggest difference I see. Not him coming back to the like by the box as much as Gakpo is, for example, blocking a cross or anything. But I feel like as the other team builds up, he is preventing them from having that extra person on the ball with no pressure at all.
Well, yeah, there's two sides to it, right? Your own half and then their half, and I think you equally are important. And I think like when we looked at that was a big thing we talked about in the first quarter of the season is the fact that we were just had zero press. There was no like we
Yeah.
were so easy to play out against. And what was even worse than us not having a press is when we had an uncohesive press because essentially then we're committing bodies forward and they're just easily bypassing it through the midfield. And then all of a sudden they're on a counter and we're short.
Yes.
So
Yep.
yeah, it's been nice to see that. I thought it was a combination of starting to put a frontline press back together and starting to prioritize. Like whenever Liverpool has played well this season, I thought that we looked like a side that's prioritized winning the ball back in the final third of the pitch, like which used to be sort of a staple under Jurgen. Like I felt like we did an okay job of that under year one with Orange Slot, and then year two it was non-existent for the first half of the season. I feel like we're starting to get some of that back because that's where some of these big opportunities are now coming where we have 4v3s, 4v2s and stuff. We
Yep.
win that back and like we're in good spots with options, right? So yeah, long may it continue.
Like a little bit of Brighton helping the cause, right? I mean, as we were watching the game, we're watching with Angel, and I was like, yeah, these guys are going to keep doing it. Eventually, they're going to make a mistake. Like, as they're trying to build, I mean, it was mostly resulting in throw ins where we win the ball back kind of thing. But, the way they play and the way the system playing, a team who was going to do long balls, that's, I think, when we struggle because, like you say, we can't win those balls up top because the ball is not there. The ball has been like kind of like hauled over and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how the new Forest with Vitor looks. Like I mean, having been familiar with him, he does like kind of like settle defensively pretty well, and like he's real good on the counter and stuff. But what do you make of that? By the way, I mean, these two wins. Do you kind of now look at the Forest game a lot more optimistic? They will be playing away at Istanbul against Fenerbahce on Thursday and then
Yeah.
play us on Sunday. So that is kind of like a big advantage there. But do you look at it differently, even without that? Just judging by the last two games, are you more optimistic?
I'm definitely more optimistic, but to me, it makes me feel like almost more so like if we don't get 3 points here, then I continue to have questions about what's happening with this side under Orange Slot. Because you're catching a Forest side who's been miserable all year. They've run through managers. There's chaos in the back room organizationally. They're coming off like 72 hours of like 72 hours of having gone to Turkey and playing and come
Yep.
back. Like to me, it's like it's set up for us to basically run them off the pitch. And like the expectation should be that we win comfortably, right? And like anything less for that, then that to me is a little bit disappointing, which makes me nervous. Like like
Yeah.
as somebody who typically operates on pretty high anxiety, like when I have that kind of expectation and this is the mixed season we have, like I feel like I'm setting myself up for a very disappointing weekend. So like we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I know what you mean because I know like when the last 3, 4, 5 weeks or whatever, I just don't know which team is going to show up. So there's always
Right.
that anxiety of is it going to be miserable today or am I going to be pleasantly surprised today? And there are times, I mean, I felt this in the Sunderland game, especially after the first half, and I was like, you know what, this is just like gonna end up a game where I feel like we played a lot better. Things are looking a lot better, but we're going to concede a stupid goal, and the narrative is not going to change at all, regardless of the performance. Because as the South Asian Scouser says in the chat there, the wins were good. The performances have been much improved. But I think when the results are not there, that ends up being meaningless. Because I was talking about it this morning. I'm in this WhatsApp chats of like 80% slots out, like over the top haters and Gakpo haters. Serzi, I gotta invite Serzi in there. I think he would just love it in there. But because like there are guys saying Chiesa played better than Gakpo today and stuff, like just that over the top. Not even, I don't even know if they're watching the games. They're just like copy pasting things they prepared earlier. But one of the narratives was, well, Sunderland was not added today, and then Brighton wasn't added today. How much credit should this team get for not letting Sunderland play, for not letting Brighton play?
Well, I, in my opinion, a lot, because I've watched a lot of football this year, and I've seen teams that we played against not be at their best and still beat us. So, like you know what I mean? So, like, I think the real shame of this 2-game swing here, where we've gotten clean sheets, won impressively, is that my sort of feeling has gone from I don't give a shit about expectations other than I just want to enjoy watching us play football again, to we gotta fucking win this game. Like, which is the real fucking shame, because now I have expectations that I didn't have prior. Like, but yeah, so like I said, like I think the big swing now is like I now know that we can play some enjoyable football and we can look good doing it. Now we have to consistently do it because we're chasing a Champions League spot.
That's the thing. Like, you knew it was like it's somewhere in there. Just get it, like
Yep.
you getting trivia today. I knew it's in there. You just got to get it out, kind of a deal. But so I mean, you look at the players and you see the potential and what can happen. I think it's just shocking. It's a case study of how much and of an impact the percentage a confidence improves in your performance is just ridiculous.
Every game this year has reminded me. You remember those fucking pictures in the 90s in the mall that you used to go and you'd have to like kind of cross your eyes to see it? Like, do you remember those things?
Is that not a thing anymore? Because I could never see them, by the way.
No. Like, I was one of the ones that could never see it either. And then I think it was like 15 or something, and I like probably smoked weed out of a pop can in the parking lot or whatever, and I saw it, and I like freaked out because I saw it for the first time. And I feel like every Liverpool match is like one of those where you're just like, if I look at it long enough, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna see it, and you're like, there it is. And I feel like the last 2 matches, like I'm seeing it. I just want to continue to see it every match.
Oh man, Sheldon, this is a sailboat.
Yeah,
I remember those things. And for those of you guys who are like me and never freaking saw it, I think I've only seen 1 or 2, and after like hours, I freaking like can't say I still stare at the comments like that. Yeah, I'm hoping there'll be something I use. Like, for example, you saying earlier that I look like I just got done at the gym. And if you knew, I don't know if any gym would even allow me in, because it would be bad advertising for the bad PR right now. They're like, why don't you keep walking, lose some weight, then we'll get to the running and lifting and all that kind of stuff. I'm still in the first phase over here. So once I go back to gonna start refereeing, man, just gonna have to freaking
yeah, dude.
I don't want to be that
like
guy.
when you don't want to go to the mall, like you every time you go to work out and you wonder why they've got an ambulance parked out front. Like, just
a precaution, Mr. Wrestler. But yeah, I mean, I think, and here's another thing, like you were sometimes seeing it, and I know after a game, what is the draw and stuff like that, when I bring out some of the little things I am seeing improve, it like ends up like I'm trying to be over the top positive or something like that. Whereas maybe that's partially it. I was being over the top positive, but you just want some building blocks, man. You just want to see those triangles starting to form when we do that regularly, kind of a thing. And I see now us almost unleashing Kirkes to more of his potential. Well, I'm actually asking that because we talked about it a little bit this morning. How much of that is his confidence, playing like himself? How much of it is improved play of Gakpo, despite what you hear? Don't believe everything you read. And being able to kind of figure out a way to have Gakpo basically cut in more and allow I mean, he always cut in, but I think he's utilizing Kirkus a lot more now, which was probably our bigger frustration early in the season.
Things here. I think one, it's an incredibly young player who settled into a new side and took some time to do it, right? So I think part of it is just like a physical maturation from a career standpoint. I think secondly is this side is like learned how to trust Kirkez. If you remember before, like he wasn't getting a lot of like they weren't hitting they weren't using him as an actual outlet for a long time because he was triggering the other team's press. Like when the ball went to him, teams were collapsing on him. So like the result of that was like they just didn't give him the ball. Like
Yeah.
I think that has changed. I think he's gotten confident as this is going on, but this to me looks like a kid who's just sort of figured out, and I think the manager has like should get some credit here. I think he's figured out what he's supposed to be in this setup. And I just think it took him a long time to do that. I think the form of the side didn't help. Like I think Van Dijk's individual errors behind him didn't help. Like I think he just had sort of a smorgasbord of things that were working against him. And he was certainly part of it, right? Like there's
Yeah.
things that he was definitely I'm not like I'm not trying to say he wasn't culpable in that, but I think like he's just settled. I think he seems like a somebody who understands what the system wants of him, and I think that's a big part of it. And now that the players now that Van Dijk and the team really kind of trust him, and I think there's been a little bit more chemistry on that side between Gakpo and Wirtz, and Jones when he's in the mix over there. I think that has helped Kirkez not only be an outlet they can trust, but have options there.
Yeah, the trust thing is important. Actually, like I'm glad you mentioned that because I had not thought of that. That's probably partially what it is, but because it used to be, it felt like we were more using his run as a decoy and really never like capitalizing on it. So maybe you are right. Some of that trust being given to him and it's paying off with his assistant stuff. It feels like he's more putting the ball in dangerous places rather than picking a pass, which is fine if you have quality in the box, I think, and which, obviously it results in goals. So, I mean, his improvement, like Satej and Scott were saying, Konate has played a lot better ever since his return. And I don't know, like when you list a lot of these players doing better, it's just because if everybody does 5% better, it improves the guy next to you, then improves that guy. It's not like, suddenly everybody is like, all right, let's play better, man, kind of a thing. But slowly gaining form, and I really go back to the confidence. And that's why probably this Forest game is pretty important because it feels like the third win in a row would really get those cobwebs out and be like, yes, we're back. Or when would you say, okay, they're back? I'm confident we're going to win this week. Like, what would it take for you to get there?
I think a Forest and I think 2 more wins. I think a Forest win, and if we go, and I think we take care of West Ham, I think I'll feel good. Although, these are sides that are set up that we play typically pretty well against. I know West Ham, we struggle sometimes with their set piece prowess. Like that's going to be a test for us. But I think if we can get through there and we go into the back-to-backs with Wolves, having essentially 4 wins off the side, I think we'll say, hey, like this definitely looks like a corner's turn. Everybody is playing better. And I got to credit, like we've been really down on this manager. We've been really down on the players too. And I have to give them both credit to do that off the run of the way that they lost to City. I think is really, really like that fills me with some optimism. And that, I'm not somebody who typically does that. Because like the way they lost that City could have been the City match could have been a backbreaker. Like they literally could have folded up shop and quit on this manager. And the fact that they didn't quit on this manager tells me a lot because I know we've had points in the season where it feels like they are. Like it feels like this is a side that's actively starting to quit on this manager. And like the fact that they've been able to sort of like pick themselves back off the mat and play this way, regardless of the competition. I think coming off the way they lost that match tells me as much as the results right now.
Yeah, because that was kind of I don't know, maybe they almost felt that, look, there were a lot of games. It reminds me of like, the Balotelli t-shirt, like why always me? Like it just looked like when that happened again, I think they knew that they had won that game, and especially the second half, the way they played and stuff, it felt right. Like it felt like it was deserved. It wasn't like the Arsenal win when we got very similar, almost the same minutes, almost another like just as good of a freaking shot from like Sobostai going in. But it felt like that game was like really, it was going to take something like that. It was really cagey and stuff early in the season, right? Whereas this one, it just felt like against City in the second half, the way you played, regardless. I know, like, like when you guys were talking on the Monday nights, there was like, well, the first half we didn't play well and stuff. I think that was more about first half, we wanted to stop. And you may not like doing that at home, but it is what it is. You got to know what your strengths are and your tactics are and play accordingly. I think they realized that they played well enough to win. And it was just, God, man, how the hell does this keep happening?
Yeah.
Similar to what happened before these, because this team is used to scoring in the last minute, not conceding in the last minute prior to this season. So for them to come back and yes, get these 2 wins, when do you think their confidence, I guess, goes up? Like you said, like 2 games, when this team doesn't feel like, or do we want them to feel a little paranoid about having a 2-goal lead so that they stay on it and not relax?
I think that form is contagious, and I think that the confidence sort of is in line with the form typically. So I feel like they're probably starting to feel this a little bit. I think for some, like, and this is why I say when like we started this pod, I said like I thought the main thing was that the people that were involved in these goals were people that we need to be involved in these goals. I think like for all the talk and all the conjecture about Curtis Jones's relationship with Arne Slot, I think that Curtis Jones deserves and I think is important that he's a long-term player for Liverpool. Not only because he's scouts, but how he came into the side and what he means, and like for all these incoming players and being able to knit them into the community. Like I think he's a really big important part of this player. Not to mention that he's like a utility jackknife in the midfield. You can play him anywhere, including fullback.
Yeah.
But like I think the other thing that's huge for this side is like as weird as it is, as weird as the side is like in transitioning and sort of Mo passing the baton down to Florian Wirtz. I think it was equally important for this side to see Mo Salah get some confidence back and start creating and start scoring and start winning pens and start doing all of those things that prime Mo Salah does, because I still think there's a big part of this side that still looks to Mo. There's still a lot of players in the side who won trophies with Mo, who
Yeah.
won leagues with Mo, and he was the fulcrum to it all. So I still think psychologically it's important to the side that he's involved and does well. So I think it's coming. I mean, if we look at big picture, we talk about like the worst unbeaten run, like tongue in cheek. Kazi loves that. Like worst unbeaten run, like we say statistically this was like close to Hodgson's form or worse than in that period. We cherry pick these stats, but if
Yeah.
you really want to cherry pick stats, the one that stands out to me is that we have lost 2 matches since November 25th of last year, and those 2 matches were lost in injury time. And
Yeah.
so, like that City being one of them, if we're responding this way, I like our chances.
Yeah, I think so too. The only worry I have is you can't afford any other major injuries. You kind of put yourself in a situation where you can't afford anything else. Because I mean, and you're hoping that Frimpong and Isak is going to come back into this fold as well. I mean, Isak probably not for like a month and a half before we see. But I think even if you get Isak to come in and give you 20, 30 minutes, it helps Ekitike because you can tell after 65th, 70th minutes, Ekitike is done defensively. He looks like what I was talking about earlier with Mo defending.
Yep.
The most pass defending. He's running, but is he really running? He's kind of like jogging from guy to guy. He's not really defending. He's moving. So probably when they look at the stats, it looks like he was still running, but he's not really defending as well.
Yep.
So even if Isak can come in and give you like 20, 25 minutes a game, and eventually maybe start flip-flopping 60-30 either way, kind of like what we did in the beginning of the season, it would be huge. You just cannot afford anything else. But I think the improvement in form of Mo, along with Gakpo, and I hope like we're not like kind of like running with the recent positivity, but I've been trying to stay positive throughout this. And One of the last stones over here staying positive. And like, you know me, I'm not Mr. Positive, but I just felt like, I know, I keep going back to, I felt the criticism was so over the freaking top. It just kept feeling like saving the kids from the bullies, where I felt like it was what, like the hate specific players, like, like Kerkez we were talking about earlier, Gakpo and stuff. Not that they were perfect, but the way they were treated, like they're like the worst player ever after seeing him play for like 3-4 games, is just freaking like ridiculous, and it's just not fair to these guys. And you're kind of seeing the form now. I think that's a great thing you said in terms of form being contagious too, because everybody's form and confidence affects the guy next to him and stuff. And hopefully good days are ahead. I did want to mention this. I know it's kind of like really late in the show and it might open a can of worms, but we put out a social media post today asking about VAR. Having watched the FA Cup this weekend, I know you are more one of the old schoolers. If I remember right, you still did not want VAR. Does that change? Because the freeing has definitely gotten worse, because now they rely on VAR and they're like, oh shit, it's not there. We have to make a call now, I guess, kind of a deal. But does it make you say, yeah, fuck it was nice to have no stoppages, flow of the game there and everything. But, and I'm not only saying, like, most of the Liverpool fans in our socials were about Rio's goal. There was so much stuff over the weekend that, does it make you say, yeah, at this point, we unfortunately definitely need VAR? Or are you still like, I kind of like this?
All right. So I think the Cosmos did a really good job of trying to suck me into this with the Rio situation, because if there isn't ever a reason that I'd want VAR, it's for that kid to get his goal, right? So well played there. I loved it without it. I loved it without it. And I feel
Really?
like, yes, I love the way that the games flow. And I love that you can celebrate goals. Like, I love those things that it brings back into the game. Here's the thing about VAR, and it's a lot like the American healthcare system. The VAR is it is not a, it doesn't solve the issue. We're treating the illness, we're not curing it, right? Like, to me, what VAR does is VAR is an attempt to like get to the correct decision via and through subpar refereeing. My problem with it is if you have subpar refereeing, you're going to get bad results through VAR. And you're going to get VAR things that get, like, the situation like we saw for City with the red card situation with Dominic Soboslai. You're going to get that thing, right? And now we've legislated common sense out of the game. So, like, to me, my problem is that we have essentially legislated common sense out of the game. We are still not getting decisions that are any clearer, like, because we're still getting, like, does anybody really know what a handball is still, like, at all anymore?
It's
Like,
become the catch in NFL at one point where
right.
nobody knew what the catch
Yes.
was. Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, here's the thing though, isn't that more being critical of how it's implemented rather than the concept itself? So you're saying you don't like Zahid says he's in and he's old school. And yeah, I remember those days and want to go back to that. From what I've seen, yes, and certain leagues definitely run it better. So is it the implementation more than the concept, or you just don't like the concept at all because you want the flow? I mean, I look at it and I'm like, I just don't understand. It shouldn't be this hard, first of all. But here's the thing, I'd be more forgiving, like the Rio goal. Everybody's like, oh, how did they not see that? I mean, it's still a human doing it. So that's very hard to, if you've ever been a linesman, that shit is hard. And I realize these guys are professionals, but professionals also make mistakes. So by having VAR as a backup to that, why is that a negative?
It's probably just the implementation for me, right? I think it's too disrupted the game. I don't love the huge pauses. Like, I don't mind the crowning the ref because that's still happening in VAR. Like, you still, like, I mean, Chelsea still exists, guys. Like, Chelsea is still, like, like, those teams are still hounding refs when the VAR is in the headset with the ref. Like,
Yep.
I think it's probably just the implementation. I don't need every offsides to be a forensic crime scene investigation that doesn't actually show us an angle but, like, you know what I mean? Where they start drawing pins and lines and everything, we still don't see it, and they draw it from a non-goal scoring. Like, they're drawing it from a hand or something you can't even score from. It's like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing?
Oh, I'll tell you this. This will really drive you nuts because now in the Turkish league, the huge conspiracy theory and the way the shadiest things happen with Galatasaray is sometimes the screen, like we get to see it a minute or so afterwards, right? Where they draw the lines and the dude is like this and stuff. I mean, there are some goals where in Turkey you don't see for like another 7-8 minutes. So they're like, did they move the guy a little bit over so you can draw the line and be like, see, he was on kind of a thing. So you can always have those conspiracy theories and like kind of question it. I guess my thing is it's knowing there is a way to correct it. And if implemented, it will work well. It hurts me to see teams getting screwed over because you're like, there's a way right here. Like, why don't we use that? That's probably like where I'm at with it. It just hurts. So I rather deal with that, with its imperfections, rather than see the crime scene and not do anything about it.
Yeah, I think sports in general has sort of evolved to the point where this is problematic because I think like refereeing across all major sports, including the American big ones that are big money producers, I think is subpar in general. I think a lot of that comes back to the fact that like we have these big, huge sports that are big money making gambling things and with tons of money on the line financially for these clubs and teams. And we're using refs that are fucking part time. Like these guys, no, for real, these guys have other jobs. They make like these guys should be full-time refs making full-time big boy money and be in academies training. Like they should have an offset. You should have off-season trading. They should have all sorts of off-season meetings like they do now, but are revolved around continuing training for them. Like the refereeing should be treated more like a profession than it is at this point.
That's fair.
And I think until we kind of solve the systemic issue with the quality of refereeing, I think VAR is just always going to be a continued nuisance for me in general. And then, of course, I don't understand why everybody, like, I think everybody should do offsides like the Dutch league, where they essentially have extended the line to be like 1 or 2 like centimeters deeper. Like to me, like the whole intention of the offside rule was to make sure that there wasn't an advantage for the offensive player, and I feel like we've lost track of why that rule was created. And I think we're actively taking goals off the board in a sport where goals are exciting. Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I was watching. I don't know. We fell in this freaking YouTube hole with Angel the other nights, and there was some like old footage from games from like I think they were like what 89, I think, 89, 90, and
the old baggy Umbro shorts.
Oh yeah, and I was like looking at it, and I'm like, oh man, I had perfected the art of because as a sweeper, I was like, I had perfected the art of like that's offside. I know it's. Let's just keep going because it was all about how confident you are. If you were like, oh, is he not offside? He wasn't. But if you acted like, yeah, that's off. Give me the ball. Like it's our ball kind of a thing. I was like, oh man, I had perfected that art. I was looking at some of the sweepers doing that, and I'm like, the good old days. I mean, like I say, I am. Zahid says the Saudi has automatic offside lines. I mean, of course, here's the thing though: the Saudi league. I mean, with the money involved over there, they probably like oil starts squirting from behind the goal or something when somebody's offside or some shit. But here's the thing, though, to go along with that, I still don't understand why we don't have VAR in a Liverpool Brighton game at Anfield in an FA Cup. What's the difference? I understand why some teams don't have it because they might not have their stadium set up and stuff. But why can't we utilize the ones that are set up?
Like I think the idea is if you're running a tournament, you want to have the same set of criteria for games, all matches.
So what happens when one of these guys go to the final?
Do they do VAR in the final at Wembley?
I think after a certain level, it goes back to it goes back to VAR. I think in the advanced levels, I think after the semi or the quarter, I'm not sure. Maybe somebody in the chat who knows can tell us, but I thought we switched afterwards. And like I say, I know the stadiums are not set up and stuff, and we want the tournaments. But I mean, both teams don't have if this game doesn't have VAR, it affects both teams evenly in that game. So that game is still fair. Whereas if you have over here like Liverpool and Everton. I mean, Liverpool and Brighton. They already have it set up. Why not use it? It's like there. Why not use it? Next round has VAR, says 5th rounds. Zahid says, plus the narrative magic of the FA Cup selling point is giant killing and upsets. And that's my thing, though. Like, why even, like what if these guys go to the final then? Are they going to have to play in a different stadium because their stadium is not set up for VAR yet?
I don't know. Does a team like Mansfield know what to do when there's a VAR break? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think it's dumb. It's dumb to me that they do it in some part of the competition, not the whole thing. Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like, if it is available, it should be used. I just did not get the concept over there. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, great weekend. I mean, I thought that's probably is that the first time in a long time where you kind of relaxed watching Liverpool?
I actually said that like to my lady. I was like, I can't remember the last time I watched a Liverpool match and just wasn't like chewing my fingernails off because I was like irritated by the way they were playing or just waiting for a 90-minute equalizer, right? So yeah.
How did you watch the Sunderland game? Like I said, like when I was watching the Sunderland game, I was enjoying what I was watching, similar to the Brighton game, but I had that paranoia in the background, and I was like, man, they're gonna concede a stupid goal, set piece, long throw-in, or something stupid is gonna happen, and all this work done is gonna go to waste.
Yeah, I was basically thinking that the entire duration of the last 40 minutes of that match. Yep.
Yeah.
And like waiting for like 15 minutes of injury time, right? Like
more torture for everybody. Yeah, I mean, that was my main worry that game. I feel like the performances have been a lot better. And yeah, I mean, this was a cup. Yeah, hopefully we will end up in Wembley, and this will be one of the trophies. I already predicted we'll win the Champions League, so don't even have to doubt that one. But this will be the second trophy over here. But yeah, hopefully we get the win against Forest and kind of like carry that on. And that I agree with you. Having that win would be huge. We've been improving as the season has gone on. 4 wins out of our last 5. See, man, this is what I like. Somehow, finally, we're getting some like positivity over here. I really like that because, like you said, people were really cherry picking the negative stats and almost taking joy in it, which really pisses me off. But don't get me started on that. By the way, I do have to mention this because if I don't mention it, I'll be mad at myself. We did have, if you missed last Thursday's morning show. Wait, Zahid. I don't know. This is like the reverse of not cutting your hair, but
yeah,
you have to send us through our socials or something like that what we have right now to make that worth. I mean, if you're just gonna shave it shortly, and if it's like already like a really buzz cut, that's not really doing it justice over there. So we have to know what the original starting point is. But if you missed last Thursday's morning show, we kind of had like a special episode. This is kind of like a clip from it. We are supporting the 4 Steps organization, who basically, I mean, obviously the video says it all, but to give you the gist of it, it's not a fundraising effort. The fundraising has been done. We are just asking for nominations for someone who maybe is going through a tough time medically, has some like history or some issue they're battling. And, this is something on their bucket list. Basically, those are the people we want to get out. And it would really be cool to get somebody who is nominated through American Scouser. I don't want to say win this thing, I guess, but there is a committee who decides who basically the trip would go to, but they would have them go to Anfield for a game and knock something that's in their bucket list and their wish list and stuff like that in the tough time they're going through. So please do spread the words, give the video a watch, just give it a thumbs up. And then like the website and all the information is over there. And I did reach out to a lot of supporter clubs today who are very supportive of it. So we'll be sending them posters and stuff like that too. Like you say, it's not a fundraising effort. All you have to do is spread the word. And if you know someone, just go to their website and like nominate them. That's kind of like a huge ordeal over there. Shelton says Zahid just wants it. There's already a Zahid up there who's bald. So I don't know if we can have 2 of them on the same show over there. But prediction for the Forest game?
Give me 3-0. I'm going to run it back just like right.
See, that scares me, man. When it's this
Yeah.
optimism, I don't want that much optimism. Let's tone
Hey,
it down.
listen, I've already fully leaned into the fact that I'm probably going to be disappointed, so I'm just leaning into it.
I hope so. I like to say the fact that I don't want to kind of like harp on that too much and hope on it, but the fact that they're playing away at
Yes.
Istanbul against Fenerbahce, who is a much better team. I don't know how they're gonna do against Forest, but Kadika, I mean, the team is in form right now, has like a really belief in him. They got Conte in there in that midfield. It's like a midfield of Conte, Gendouzi, and Asensio. So it's actually like a really, really solid
Yeah.
midfield over there. And it's a good team that'll be doing a lot of running and stuff. So it will definitely wear Forest down. That atmosphere will wear them down, regardless if they win or not. But I don't know if that 3-day thing will be a huge advantage to us. See, there's always someone, Zahi. There's always someone doing the negative talk over here. Forest will be tough since they're fighting relegation. And that's the only thing. Like, I know like my brother, obviously we're Fenerbahce fans being born there, but, we're like, are they not going to take Europa as seriously and focus more on
They
the
still got
weekend, you think?
still got to travel. You still got
I
that
guess that's
travel.
fair.
Like that travel stuff is something people don't talk about, especially you got to go all the way out there, like and back. Like
Yeah.
that's why. Remember, that's why we hated Europa is because you were always in Eastern Europe, like
Yep.
playing some crazy field in Siberia and having to come back. Like, yeah, it's
Oh man.
you get
Okay.
there.
Yeah, like I say, I don't want to like blow it up too much and like put all my eggs in that basket that they're going to be tired. But I think it's a huge plus for us, especially since we're getting an 8-day rest. And here's the thing: I think this team can really benefit from having time off, working together, and actually practicing, working on things. Because one thing I know we never got around to talking about it, but one thing I feel like we improved a lot is set pieces, our own set pieces, aside from like defending. They have looked a lot better. Finally, we are doing what we're doing. Turkish Badlands, yeah, there it's yeah. Like normally I would be otherwise, but Fenerbahce is on a roll right now, and it's really, really positive. So that's gonna be a crazy atmosphere over there they're going to, and hopefully they won't come out of it. We'll go with that. Okay, I'll be back. Speaking of, with my bro, who's unfortunately a United fan. We're rival bros. Shameless promo over here. We announced it a few weeks ago and reminded everybody last week, but that show is moving over to the EPL Across the Pond channel, another channel like I'm involved in. So obviously Edip and I will be taking the show over there because I think we have IO already. You can only have so many United fans talking about United in the Liverpool channel. So IO is still on the panel. We don't want to overdose on United people, but if you have not subscribed, please give that channel a subscribe. We'll be on tomorrow live. Otherwise, I will be back Wednesday morning with RG with the morning coffee show. Have an awesome week, everybody. Thanks for all those joining us. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.